the same time.
Oh. Well, this was a good way to start this. Good evening, everyone. You missed it. Molly and Sammy were having a dance-off.
We were. I think Sammy won, though. I think it's.
I don't think we were having a dance-off. I think we were dancing together.
Oh, well. Anyhow, everyone, welcome to Horror Hangouts tonight here on the Big Slick Adventures YouTube channel. I'm Josh, your host. Joining me this evening, we have returning Molly from Final Girl Friday YouTube channel. And
Hello.
then we, of course, also coming back once again, we have Sammy from WNY Horror Crew, her YouTube channel, and In Jerry's Closets Instagram. And for tonight, we're going to do something different. We're going to talk about, since we're in the middle of summer, actually summer's starting to wind down even a little bit. It's hard to believe we're almost to August. We thought we'd talk about some of our favorite summer horror films that aren't Friday the 13th, aren't Jaws or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or even Evil Dead, because those are the obvious ones. So we've got a good list of movies that you probably have heard of, and maybe even a few that you probably never heard of. So that's pretty much what we're going to do tonight. And I don't know if anyone's in the chat right now, but not yet. But we're just going to go ahead and start. So, Molly, why don't you start with your first pick?
Okay. I guess I'll go in chronological order. So my first pick was Sleepaway Camp from 1983. Definitely a must watch for me every summer. The first time I ever saw it was in the summer. It was actually a friend of mine. I had showed her some movie. I really wish I could remember what it was, but it was a movie with a big twist at the end. Mm-hmm. And after it was over, she was like, "That was great. But have you seen Sleepaway Camp? Because the twist doesn't get any better than that." I'm like, "No, I haven't seen it." I think I was like 19. So we went to a little local video store called All Star Video. We rented it on VHS and we brought it back to my apartment and we watched it. And it blew me away. I was a huge slasher fan up to that point, but I didn't quite know just how much I love the slasher subgenre until I saw Sleepaway Camp. Yeah, so it's one of my favorites. I watch it every year in the summer multiple times. So yeah.
What was your reaction to the twist at the end?
Oh, it was hilarious because Lauren knew it was coming. She had seen it before. I hadn't. So I could feel her piercing gaze on the side of my face through like the whole, like climax of the movie. And I'm trying to keep my cool and I'm trying to just like, nothing I haven't seen before. And I could feel my jaw drop and I just looked at her and she had this huge grin on her face. It was a really kind of a magical moment. I loved it. It was very shocking. I didn't see it coming. And I think it's also kind of a testament to Felissa Rose's performance because she turned it out, especially as young and inexperienced as she was. I was right there with her through the whole film. I felt for her. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a shocking, awesome experience.
Sammy, what's your thoughts on Sleepaway Camp?
It was one of my picks too, but then Josh was like, "Oh, it's already taken." So I was like, but you telling the story to your friend, like anytime I show that film to someone, it's the same thing. I'm just like waiting, for like their reaction for that moment and everything. And just like, it's such a classic. And it is one of those ones that you kind of have to watch every summer just because it's so enjoyable. And I feel like every time you watch it and you bring someone else into the whole experience, it makes it like you're having the experience of seeing it for the first time over. So it's like one of those films where like that twist is what can keep you like enjoying it like year after year. And then each person that you like experience it with too can feel like that, like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Funny story about Felissa Rose. I saw her at a HorrorCon a little over a year ago. And for a gimmick or whatever, one of the days, I think it was like, wasn't Friday, but like Saturday, she's walking around in a bodysuit to mimic that scene with
really?
penis and all, basically.
That's great.
My wife is with me, goes, why is she wearing that suit? Because my wife had not, I didn't know she had not seen that movie. Goes, oh, okay. When we get home, we're going to watch it and you're going to find out why.
I would love to have seen that. The other thing that I really love about Sleepaway Camp in summer, I mean, is not only is it just a great slasher movie and it's a classic, but what I love is that they first chose to cast real children, which I think really makes it hammers in that realism. But then also some of the scenes they chose to put in of like the kids, just kind of fucking around in their cabins, and the baseball game in particular. They didn't have to put that scene in, but they did. And it really just draws you into that summer camp vibe. You feel like you're right there. Yeah.
Yeah, they did do a really good job with that. What was your what's everyone's got a favorite kill in the movie?
My favorite kill is the bees. I absolutely, it's so utterly absurd.
From Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, it's like the most ridiculous scene ever because there's so much space at the bottom of that bathroom stall door. He could have at any point dropped down and crawled out, but for some reason he's trapped. And the bees, it just everything leading up to the bees and the bees. That's my favorite kill.
Like I just like.
What about you, Sammy?
I honestly can't think of any of the kills right now. There's so much in my mind with everything else that I can't.
What's your favorite, Josh?
For me, it's when that I was gonna say when that creepy cook gets basically his face boiled for the most part, just because he was such a creep anyway. So it's like. And I just like how they were so nonchalant after that happened. They go, well, I guess you're now in charge. You get bump and pay, and everyone else will get a bump and pay since he's gone now. I'm like, okay. Good riddance.
So easily replaceable.
Yeah, that was really gnarly too. It's a really fun one to watch just because the special effects makeup was just really, really good for the budget and the time period,
Yeah. And it's still, I mean, still considered a classic all these years. Did you have I've actually never seen any of the sequels. I've only seen the original. What was your thoughts on any of the sequels? Because I don't think Felissa Rose came back for any of those, but they're
okay. I've seen them all. I enjoy them for what they are. I don't love them as a continuation of the story of Sleepaway Camp, just because of kind of what becomes of Angela. If you haven't seen them, I won't sort of spoil any of it for you, but they just kind of take the Angela character and run with her in a direction that I don't think we needed. But I am also inherently not a huge fan of most sequels. I really think that we need to learn how to just tell one story one time and then move on. And I love Sleepaway Camp as a self-contained story. And so yeah, that's the thing about the sequels is if you like Sleepaway Camp on its own, just for exactly what it is, the sequels, they change some things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. They're fine. I like them. I really do. But I don't love them as sequels to Sleepaway Camp, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that was a movie that didn't lend itself to having a sequel, or if you were going to make a sequel, and I kind of know the synopsis a little bit of what at least part 2 is about. It seemed to me if you were going to do a sequel, you needed to just have a brand new villain then.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think Angela's the type of villain that's just they're not gonna just bring her back and not think there's not gonna be problems.
Yeah, especially
it's like oh yeah, it's all better, and then people start killing and go, wonder who could have done that. Well, duh,
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of those things where I feel like they could have, I don't know. I get though why they wanted to, and I'd rather see sequels to Sleepaway Camp than some of the other franchises that have gotten like 30 sequels,
Right.
So I mean it's nice to have that setting, and there's good things about each one. It's just I don't know. I will always love the first one the most.
I feel like I only watched any of the sequels once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like when they did the sequels to Slumber Party Massacre. It's just it just kind of
I love the second one. but not as a sequel to Slumber Party Massacre. I just love it as its
Right.
own movie, you know.
Yeah, because it's so much different in tone from the first one that it like is this even like the same series? um, but okay, yeah, Sleepaway Camp. Yeah, definitely a classic for sure. One of our great '80s horror, and there's plenty from that decade to begin with. So, Sammy, your turn. What's
All
one of
right.
your picks?
Oh, it's kind of funny because I was gonna go in chronological order too. So
Nice.
I'm starting with 1997's "I Know What You Did Last Summer."
Yes.
um, I remember seeing this in the movie theater when it came out, and I know like Scream had come out the year before, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's it's just like kind of like that and whatnot." But this one originally was based off a novel that was written in 1973, so by Lois. What was her name again? Lois Duncan.
Love something.
Yep. So this was the actual story, and kind of the first story. And I was such a fan of like whodunit movies and stuff too that like it was exciting to see it like for that aspect, but I feel like they overdid the red herring in this. Like they constantly like it was literally like every like 10-15 minutes. They were like, "Oh, but it could be." And you're like, "Oh, wait, yeah, no, wait, what?" And it just kind of it did like a job of that, but it was like a slasher kind of for like my generation, because being like in high school at that time
Mhm.
and having this come out, like of course there was the slashers before that and everything, but it was like, okay, this is one for like us, that kind of had like,
Right.
unfortunately, the dialogue for the time, a little bit, it wasn't as understanding as it is now, but that was kind of for like the timepiece and stuff. And I don't know. I just think that it was like just interesting, and it was kind of like a little like treat add-on to like what we got from the Scream franchise.
Yeah. Of course, you talk about dialogue. I'm like, have you heard some of the dialogue in some of the early '80s
Oh yeah,
horror
oh yeah. I
movies?
know. We all know, like watching this, it's like you're gonna hear some like cringe-worthy stuff, but like kind of be like, all right.
And I honestly have not seen that. I wanted to rewatch it, but I could not find it streaming anywhere on any platform that I have. So I
Yeah,
haven't
it's not.
seen it in a good 25 years or so. I
But I
like it.
feel like the only reason why it's not on any streaming services right now is because the new one coming out.
And I
And
was going
Yeah,
to
that's
say,
especially with the
probably
new one coming out like now, and everything, that of course other streaming services are like, no way. Like if you
it.
don't have it, guess what? You're not gonna be watching it.
Yeah, because I feel like it was on Hulu not that long ago. I feel
Oh
like it had to have just been taken down from some streaming services because it
hmm
wasn't
yeah,
that long ago that
absolutely.
I saw it on
Absolutely.
there.
Censorship.
Yeah.
So they take down the movies, especially before people are going to be really interested in them, especially with the second one coming out and everything. So
hmm
it kind of once again goes back to like us big collectors of like original media. It's like we still have access to those where like if you're looking for streaming services or online or something, access is limited or access isn't there at all. You're like telling
Right.
someone about something and they're like, "Oh, I can't find anything. Are you sure?" Like I was talking about a movie a few weeks ago about that, and they were like, "Oh, I can't like find anything," and I'm like, "I know this movie exists, like, and I have a burnt copy somewhere, but
Right.
Yeah, I typically, I've been focusing and I haven't bought anything in a while. I'm keep on meaning to go buy the substance whenever then I
Mhm.
forget about stopping by and getting that. But it's
Yeah,
like I either want to get my very favorites or those ones that those like hidden gems or whatever that are going to
Mhm.
be hard to find on streaming anyway and could disappear at any moment. I definitely have to
Mhm.
boost up my Italian horror collection. And grant to get physical copies of something like the original Suspiria or Black Sunday or any of the Giallo, they're a lot more expensive than just.
yeah,
But those are
Yeah.
ones I definitely want to have. But
yeah.
it's hard for me to justify spending full price or like, because I growing up poor, I look at purchasing physical media as a luxury. And so there's a part in the back of my brain that's always like, nah, don't spend your money on that. You don't really need that. But then like just a couple weeks ago or about a month ago, I watched a movie on Tubi called Dead Dudes in the House. And I knew because they had a special edition of it. I think it was on Shout Factory or Scream Factory. And I knew that if I didn't get it now, that movie may just slip into obscurity for the rest of my forever. And I'd never be able to find it again. So I'm like, okay, fine, fuck it. I'll buy the Blu-ray, like, so that I have it on. So I get that.
I'm pretty sure I have that. And it's kind of funny. Like I said, I'm staying at my brother's house right now, but I'm kind of going through some stuff, figuring out myself, opening a shop hopefully soon. So working into that since I had the shop before. And one of the first things like I brought with me is my zombie movie collection.
Oh, nice. The Judges and Zombies.
I was like, I kind of need like my zombie movies here, so I can definitely, have those accessible.
For sure.
But getting back to
oh yeah, we're talking about movies.
Sorry.
Yeah, we were talking about I Know What You Do. I'll say I really liked the concept that they came up with, the whole story, how basically bad, you do something bad and you think you've done and it comes back to haunt you literally.
Someone's always watching.
Yeah, exactly. That type of part of it, I certainly enjoyed that. There were some good kills in that movie from what I can remember. From what I've heard so far, I have not heard very many good things about the remake, which doesn't surprise me because I don't think there's been a good remake made since maybe the Evil Dead remake, because it seems like everything is just. I think they're not putting a whole lot of thought in these remakes.
I don't know. I'm excited for the Toxic Avenger. That looks really good.
See, something obscure like that they could do something with, because that's a very much a Toxic Avenger is kind of a cult movie in a way, whereas a movie like I Know What You Did Last Summer was very mainstream.
Yeah,
and Toxic Avenger goes back to the 80s, and I don't know, it doesn't seem like it, but it's been 25 years or so since I Know What You Did Last Summer came out, but still feels like it's only been 10 years.
It came out last year.
Totally. Absolutely.
I wish it only came out last year. That means I'd only be wouldn't even be 30 yet. So that.
Yeah, I am also not excited about. I mean, I don't. It doesn't seem to me like it's a remake, though. Isn't it more like a requel? Like where it's because they're bringing the legacy characters back and they're kind of continuing the story. Okay. And I read something about. Unfortunately, something major about the film was spoiled for me. I have no interest in seeing it now. Knowing that, I was so disappointed in what they have decided to do with one of their legacy characters. I have no desire to see the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. I won't be watching it. Maybe someday if it's free, I might hate watch it, but I haven't. Yeah.
So, Molly, did you like the original one then? I take it you were a fan of the first one?
110%. I love I Know What You Did Last Summer. That was actually another one that I considered choosing as well, so I'm glad I didn't, because that way we don't have too much overlap to me. But yeah, it was one that I felt like I had to defend for a long time. Along with Urban Legend, that's another one from that era that I love. What I really like about them is that I don't see them as any different from the 80s slashers that I love. They're formulaic. They were populated with a lot of young, pretty people. There was a lot of easy dialogue, good kills. It has everything that I love about slasher movies, and I never understood why people didn't like it. It also has one of my all-time favorite chase scenes of any horror movie when Helen is being chased. It's such a long, drawn out, tense, beautifully done scene where she almost gets away a couple of times. And I love that it sort of culminates like in a very public space too. I think that's brilliant. And I feel like people kind of overlooked it because it was in a, like a super mainstream 90s movie that had a lot of really recognizable faces, but I don't know. You could take I Know What You Did Last Summer, plop it out of the late 90s and drop it into the mid 80s, and no one would question it, in my opinion. And that, to me, is the mark of a good slasher film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I went to go see it, and I think I rented it. I didn't see it in the theater, but I remember going in with very low expectations because I wasn't a fan of Scream, actually.
Oh,
Um,
really?
well, that's because, well, once again, I grew up watching all the 80s stuff and 70s stuff. So when you've seen stuff like that, it's like, to me, I didn't like the whole meta thing. It just doesn't work for me. And,
Yeah.
but anyhow, so I had low expectations going into I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I was mildly surprised because I liked that one. I think maybe the concept of it I liked a lot better. I thought it to me it felt like they were making an honest attempt at trying to be scary with it, even though with me it takes a lot to disturb me anyway, so it doesn't. But yeah, I thought it was a big improvement from what I saw with Scream. Now the sequels, you're just trying to make a cash cow at that point because once again a movie that probably didn't need a sequel, but
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I don't hate the sequels. I just don't like them as
Yeah.
continuations of the story.
right.
Although I will give it to the third one. I can't remember the title of it right now. Like, I'll always know what you did last summer or some
Yeah,
shit
something
like
like
that.
that.
Something cheesy as hell. I commend them for trying to do something completely different with the
Mhm.
killer. Like, they
Right.
tried really hard with that movie. I mean, the movie's terrible, but they tried. And I do, going back really quickly to the first film, I also like that it's set on the 4th of July because apart from it and Jaws, we really haven't had many horror films set on the 4th of July. So I
Right.
appreciate that too. I want horror to cover all the holiday bases. And I
Yeah.
like that I Know What You Did Last Summer checks off 4th of
Yeah, that
July.
movie Holidays was
Yeah.
super good with the shorts for each of the holidays. Did you see
Yeah.
that one?
No, huh?
Oh, so good. It's got a Kevin Smith segment too that's like horror theme. I can't remember which one he did. And there's this super creepy like Easter one with this like Jesus that's like part bunny. Like it's bizarre.
So that's holidays?
Yeah.
I can't
Holidays.
believe I
And
haven't
it's
seen that.
an
I've seen it around for so
anthology.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they stole
Yeah.
my idea, kind of. I'm working on an anthology, or I've taken a break from it, where each little story that I'm writing is like a series of short stories. Each short story will take place on a particular holiday or festival during a particular
Nice.
time in history. So I've already
Mhm.
written one that takes place on Memorial Day weekend in Miami in the 1980s, and it has a very much a Giallo slash Miami Vice type of vibe to it. If you think back to
Ooh.
that time era, the way Miami was back then, probably still is. So I kind
Yeah,
of like,
that's what this movie is too. It's really cool.
and then
That's
I'm
awesome.
I'm gonna do one that takes
Keep
place
going
this
with it.
ancient Roman holiday that took place in ancient Rome. That's going to be a slasher film that, it's like, and of course, this requires me to do a lot of history research to all that and watch Spartacus about 10 or 12 times so I can get that etched in my head.
Yeah.
Not talking about the series Spartacus, but if you ever watched that one, but yeah, that's a
No, that
good
sounds
concept
awesome.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I guess
Hmm.
it's my turn, and I guess I'm going chronological order too, even though it wasn't my intent. But after I thought about the order I'm going with these movies, I guess I did do that. But speaking about a horror movie that didn't really need a sequel, I'm talking about 1981's The Burning.
Oh yeah.
Um, and of
Mhm.
course, another campground one that never got a sequel. Um, Interesting. This was directed by Tony Malam. I think I don't know what else he did, but the big selling point is that they got Tom Savini to do the makeup effects for that movie. In fact, he turned down going back to do Friday the 13th Part Two to take the role for this movie to do the makeup for them, which is an interesting choice. But I think we all glad that he made that choice because Friday 2 still turned out to be great, and I think his special effects made the movie even better. Um, it oftentimes gets called a Friday the 13th ripoff. which I think is a little bit unfair because it came out right about the time as Friday the 13th Part 2 came out. So this is before Jason has been established as your main killer, because in the original one, it was his mom, Pamela Voorhees. So I don't think they knew what Friday was doing with their sequel, so they just made their movie. The funny part is, best part of this movie is looking at Jason Alexander with, I don't know if that's real hair or if that's a rug, but watching the guy who looks like to be like he's 32 years old trying to play a, I don't know, a teenager is just kind of funny watching him. But, I think Cropsy is a really good menacing killer, very underrated, and probably because they didn't do any sequels, that's why he's oftentimes forgotten about. But just using garden shears, which, I've never looked at garden shears another way. God, you really could kill somebody with these if you wanted to. But it's a good. I mean, some of the characters are kind of, especially some of the male characters, are really kind of douchey in this, so you don't really feel bad when they get killed. I can't remember all their names, but the two like main camp counselors, there's the female and the male. I think their names Michelle and Todd. They were good characters. I didn't like. I think his name's Alfred, the little weird, creepy kid that actually survives at the end. I'm like, okay, I was a little bit weird too as a kid, but not that kind of weird. But that just, once again, you talk about everything you want out of a slasher film, particularly one set in the campgrounds. That pretty much gives you just about everything you would want out of it. You really have a final guy or guys in this movie. I mean, I guess the Michelle character is kind of a final girl, but it's the two guys, the camp counselor and the weird kid, that have the standoff against Cropsy. So that was kind of, particularly for 1981, kind of going against the grain at that time, kind of like how we mentioned with Nightmare Part 2 went against the grain using a final guy in that as well. But some really good kills, especially that raft kill scene. I think that's one everyone talks about, where he just jumps up and annihilates 4 or 5 people. But that was, I think I kind of had to mention that one when I saw that on the first run. Oh, no one's taking the burning. Okay, I'll take it then. So, also, actors Fisher Stevens and Holly Hunter also got their debut in that movie, and that's about it. I don't think it did great on first release, probably because it came out right about the time of Friday Part 2. But obviously, since then, it's become kind of a cult classic. And I think most people, as far as came out in 1981, which had tons of slasher movies coming out that year. So, but
yeah, it came out that year too.
Well, yeah, you had that one, Friday 2, Halloween 2 came out that year. The Prowler, I think, came out that year. So,
yeah, you also had My Bloody Valentine in 81.
That's right. Another one that never got a sequel. So,
thank goodness. Well, it kind of did, sort of, but
the remake, which was a good remake, not as good as the first, but
yeah, I was really glad that you chose The Burning, because I just saw that for the first time a few months ago, and wow. I could not believe I had never seen it before. And the thing is I had seen it around, but based on the cover art and the title of the film and the fact that no one had ever recommended it to me for some reason, I just sort of incorrectly assumed it was sort of like a Wicker Man type movie. And I kind of need to be in just the right headspace for those types of films. So every time I'd see it, I'd go, not today, someday. And then I was talking with my boyfriend, and I mentioned, we were scrolling through, I think, Tubi or something, and I think we saw it on Tubi. And I was just scrolling past, and I scrolled past The Burning, and he's like, have you ever seen that? And I'm like, no. And he's like, why? You love slasher movies. Like, you need to see The Burning right now. And yeah, so glad I watched it. I was really impressed with it. Like, it's not a perfect film, but it's really well made. And like you said, Cropsy is a really interesting killer. I also love Fisher Stevens, so getting to see little baby Fisher Stevens is fun. And yeah, just overall, it hasn't aged the best, but a lot of movies from the 80s haven't. And I just think I think it's a top-notch summertime horror film. So I was really glad that you chose it so I could, hear your thoughts, hear Sammy's thoughts, and also tell the world that I love The Burning now. I'm so sorry I didn't see it for a long time.
We have someone in the chat. We've got Castellar Daniel Garcia. He's like throwing out some movies there. Mr. Frost with Jeff Goldblum. I haven't heard of that one. Copycat was a good movie too, and Superstition. So, okay. Thanks for joining us.
So we just had a viewing of The Burning not too long ago at one of the places here locally because The Burning was filmed here. Actually, very close to where I am right now. So, and then we did a horror garage sale at the location where The Burning was filmed. So we kind of advertised that we were having this open market at that location. So which is the Ellicott Creek Park. So yeah. So that was
awesome.
kind of like.
Were you a fan then, Sammy?
I actually haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't get a chance to go to that viewing, and I know like all the history because everybody always talks about it, and like I know a lot of friends who have like seen it and everything, but like I personally haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen bits and pieces, but I have not seen the whole thing.
Wow. Well, I recommend it. I mean, you're in the same boat I was a couple months ago. Like, I could not believe that I hadn't seen it, and yeah, I really don't understand why it isn't included more on like lists of classic slashers, why it isn't considered a classic, because I really do feel like it deserves that. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of suspense in that movie too. It's not overly campy. I mean, there's some goofy moments in that movie, but it's played by and large pretty straight. It's pretty I would say particularly from about this raft scene that we were talking about where he just pretty much commits mass murder about 5 or 6 kids, or by kids, I mean teenagers. From that point on, it becomes a much darker film. So they kind of do a good job of, they have their lighthearted moments, but they do a good job of picking and choosing where to put those lighter moments in. And when it's time to go full throttle, they go full throttle. So that's always good too. But yeah, that's definitely a good one to have for sure. Once again, I think it has something to do with the fact that it's I think these standalone movies just get forgotten about because they didn't have sequels being made and all that. So I think it's now gotten a resurgence now.
Oh, we're getting. Sorry, is anybody hearing that? It's like a lot of reverb. Is anybody hearing that? Is that from me?
I don't know if it's from me. Let me try something here. Let me just.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not hearing any reverb from Sammy.
Okay.
Yeah, we were losing Josh for a moment there, but
yeah,
my internet thing.
Yeah,
I'm just like checking everyone's mics and all that. They've got a lot of new features on here, so on StreamYard. So okay. All right. I will. Okay. So that was The Burning, and I'm still hearing reverb from me. Let me try. See if this.
I'm so sorry. I hope it's not my phone. Oh, now we can't hear you at all.
Yeah.
Hold on. All right, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can't really hear me too much.
Second choice, right?
Let me turn up the volume here so I can hear you guys better.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we're definitely having some connectivity issues.
I feel like it has all of these at some point.
Yeah, I just love the internet. I'll put this back on there. It's too much.
Okay. How am I sound?
Oh, wait, talk again. Hello?
I think it's your headphones that are going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're cutting out really bad.
What do you think about the headphones?
That they're probably going.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those things only last for so long.
Yeah, I know. You need to get some real microphone. Anyhow, let's go on to Molly and go to your next pick.
Yeah, so my next pick is called, I'm so sorry, the reverb is really, really bad. I'm so sorry. So I apologize. But yeah, the next movie that I picked is Bloodhook from 1986. Which is definitely I think the campiest one that we've talked about so far, is not one to be taken seriously. But it's really great. I just absolutely love it. It's a trauma film set in a like a remote fishing village in the woods during a fishing competition, and it's so bizarre and like weirdly well written. Like it should not be as well written as it is. You know, considering how campy it is. And some of the kills, especially one of the last kills of the movie, is extremely brutal. Like, not necessarily, I don't know how to explain it. It was so much more brutal than I was expecting, even for a trauma film. So it's just got some really fun, quirky things about it. And I've always been a huge fan.
Have you seen it, Sammy?
No, that's one I haven't seen, which I'm a big fan of trauma too, and I've been in a trauma film before, so like definitely a fan, but I haven't seen that one.
I recommend it. I mean, yeah.
I know their kills are usually so great, so
yeah. It's like I said, it's weird. It's a weird movie, and it's not good, but it's also really not bad. Like I can't explain it. It makes me so happy, and it feels like summer, you know? So, yeah.
I watched it for the first time about a month ago or so, or right as we were planning this. Did you think it was a little too long?
Now, I know a lot of people have criticized it for that. That's one of the main criticisms of Bloodhook, is that it runs too long. I would be really curious to know what the original cut was like, because it is a condensed version. Like the version that we've all seen is actually a cut version of the film. So wow. I'm really curious to know what the even longer version would be like. I didn't mind it because I liked the atmosphere. I liked the characters. I was entertained. So I was along for the ride. I didn't care about how long it was. But I get why other people say that it runs too long. But yeah, so I get the argument, but no, I didn't think it ran too long.
I kind of thought like, God, this movie's. It just felt for me anyway, and by and large, I enjoyed the movie. Maybe not as much as you did, but once again, I like the story. You know, once again, if you can just tell just a good, solid story, at the very least, I'm gonna at least like your movie. If you can, you know, as long as you're not trying to do anything too stupid or trying to. Some of these, even movies nowadays, I think they try to think they're being clever. They overthink things and that falls flat, whatever. But this one, you know, it does something a little bit unique, but it doesn't, once again, tries to reinvent the wheel. There are some really good kills in this movie. Couple of characters I was annoyed with, but the final ones, the one that do live, I did like those characters. Yeah, it's very different. It's once again, like I said, it's just really campy, but it has some really dark scenes in it. I just thought it dragged a little bit too long at the end. I'm like, probably could have cut 10 more minutes off, but
yeah.
It's a weird one to watch because it's a movie that people probably have never heard of, and it's a movie they should be checking out.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, please do. I would love to know your thoughts on it, Sammy.
Definitely message you after I check it out.
Yeah. The other thing is too is that you know, it is campy, but I think that it's a tongue-in-cheek intentional camp. One of the people involved in the project went on to write for Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I think that really shows because they're leaning really hard into the tropes of the time, and they're leaning really hard into the cliches, and I think that they did that on purpose. So I view it as a horror comedy that's kind of parodying slasher films while at the same time telling a really unique story. So yeah, it's just I love it. So yeah, I think
It's kind of the way you described it there, like made me think of Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
Yeah, there's
It
definitely
made me think of that the way you were like kind of describing it there.
Yeah, it's not quite as punchy or as solid or as tight as Tucker and Dale. But then again, I'm biased because I think Tucker and Dale's like one of the best horror comedies ever made, so like I'm very biased about it. But
it's such great comfort food.
It really is. So I mean, it's not. I don't think it's gonna crack you up like Tucker and Dale does consistently, but it's still, yes, very much in that same kind of spirit of like, if you know, it's that kind of a movie. You kind of have to be keyed into the genre to really get the most out of Bloodhook. Yeah. I'm so sorry about my reverb. I feel really, really badly about it.
You're fine.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I think it's bothering you more than anybody else.
I think so. Yeah, my speaker on my computer's not great, but I think it's sounding good.
Yeah,
out there in YouTube land, so that's the
definitely
most important thing. So,
okay, good.
Yeah, so yeah, people should definitely check out Bloodhook. Sammy, what's your next one on the list?
Right. So my next one is the 2002 original Cabin Fever, which starts out with them getting out for summer. So kind of jumps in with the summer. I think it's really cool. You don't expect it to be like, like a disease or flesh-eating virus, like kind of body horror type. And I feel like it does take a moment to like get into that. But I like how when you do get into it, it's during like kind of like this bizarre non-consensual moment, where you're like, what the fuck's going on? And then it leads more to, oh wait, there's more like to this, like there's more leading up. And then just like I feel like I do enjoy Eli Roth. Like I think he's a great director, writer, and everything. But this is definitely like was the beginning of his career, and you definitely see like why he's a bro boy of horror. Like I think you totally like get that from like this film and everything. And I think it was super interesting at the end how like Paul's character is like saying, like the disease was here before we came here, so like this isn't all our fault or whatever. But it's kind of crazy to like break it down to that aspect of like, how horrible some of the characters were in this movie, that they themselves were kind of the disease too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's really interesting how he said that at the end, and it kind of ties all into like, and there was just so many like, kind of like horror tropes and like whatnot in it too. So
yeah, I think it's a really good choice.
Yeah, I think it's Eli Roth's best. It really is. It's kind of like a summer slasher mixed in with a Cronenberg type of, because I think of the movie like Rabbit, for example, something along those lines. And you're right, like of these group, there's actually a couple characters that I do like out of the group, and I can't think of their names, but it was like the guy and the girl, they're really not together, but they kind of have a crush on each other.
That's Paul, like Ryder Strong's character, and then Karen, the girl that they first get the infection, so they like lock her away.
Right. And there's the one guy, the guy who I kind of thought they were like had one too many characters, because don't you hate it when they have like you have these two couples and then you have this one moron that's like tagging along. It's like, why are you here? And why does he?
Yeah, Bert. And he was like so annoying too, but Bert's like the one that like just almost survived. But Bert did pretty good for a while there. He was trying to just like fuck off from everybody and stuff, and
I don't remember. I met I think her name's Serena Vincent. She played the brunette in that movie, and I saw her at a horror con a couple of years ago, and she's really nice. She was also in one of the segments of Tales of Halloween as well, and probably been in a few others, but she's really sweet.
she had the shaving scene too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was the most gruesome part of that. I mean, it's a gruesome movie to begin with, but
yeah.
Molly, what did you think of Cabin Fever?
I only actually saw it one time, and I did mean to rewatch it prior to our conversation. I'm so sorry that I didn't actually get around to that.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was very brutal, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I also remember not liking the characters, which made it a little difficult for me to get through, because I have to be able to invest in someone, and I remember Cabin Fever being a film where it was difficult for me to find someone to invest in. But I do overall have a positive impression of it. Like when somebody says Cabin Fever, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I like that movie. So I need to watch it again. It's not one that I've spent a lot of time with, so I'm so sorry.
And be careful, because the
right.
2016 remake, is basically almost shot for shot, just different actors.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
I don't understand why they do that. It's especially why take something that was already visually appealing and then
Yeah.
Why do you remake a movie only 13 years after the fact anyway? And I never watched the remake, had no desire to, because I'm like, the first one's fine enough, and I doubt they're gonna. I mean, there's probably some things you could improve on, like Molly was saying, with maybe a couple of the characters, but outside of that, what it is in its own context, it's not like they were going to do anything different with it.
Yeah.
Watching it.
The second one was great. That's one of the sequels too. I actually really enjoy.
No, I didn't know there was a sequel. Yeah, I need to familiarize myself with that.
The sequel starts off where the first one ends with you kind of seeing it seep into the water factory and it being bottled up. So it starts off there for the second one, and it goes to a school prom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's real nice. There's a melting dick scene, and it's great.
Okay, well, I have to watch them now because I have to see the melting dick scene. I can't not. That can't be out there somewhere in the world and I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's bad. And of course, it's teenagers, so they're just making horrible decision after horrible decision.
Right.
As you would expect.
Yeah, I know. Working at a high school, I had this study hall, and I constantly had to yell at them for touching each other. They were always touching each other, high schoolers. And it didn't matter. It wasn't couples or anything. It was the boys touching the boys, or the girls touching the girls, or them changing clothes in the middle of study hall. What are you guys doing? What is this?
Yeah, and jumping back to the remake thing real quick, I think the only time I've ever seen something like that, what you described with the Cabin Fever remake in 2016, that ever worked was when Michael Haneke remade his own film, which was Funny Games, 10 years later, specifically for an American audience, because the original film was an Austrian film, then he brought it over to the US and cast, recognizable actors for us, and it was his own movie. He wanted to retell it for an American audience, and so that's why I think it was okay that it was only 10 years later and it was basically a shot for shot, because it was the same dude. That's when I think it's okay. Otherwise, I don't understand why they would ever remake a movie 13 years after it came out, and especially to do it shot for shot. That just doesn't make any sense.
Well, they did something similar like that with Dracula, the original Dracula. They did basically the American version, Bela Lugosi, and then they basically made an entire the same movie with a Spanish or Mexican cast.
Yeah,
the Spanish version. They, nowadays they would just overdub them with, and maybe they didn't have that technology back then where you could just overdub someone's voice into different languages. So I guess back then they said, well, we'll just have to do an American or an English sounding one and a Spanish sounding one. But yeah, that's I just out of curiosity just want to, I don't even understand Spanish. Maybe they have subtitles. I would just like to watch the Spanish one just to see it in contrast to the English one.
I really do understand that, and I extend that courtesy to a lot of like the Americanized version of Japanese horror films that we've seen. I really do understand the cultural logic behind bringing these films from one country to another, and actually because some things might not translate that well culturally speaking, so I really get it. But yeah, we've gotten, not to stray too far off the point, but I just feel like we have just completely lost sight of the reasons we should be remaking certain IPs versus why are we doing this? Are we doing it for any reason other than to capitalize on the name? Or are we actually trying to tell a different story for a different audience for good reasons?
Yeah, and I know we had this discussion when I had
really good point,
All right, we're going to veer off into remakes a little bit real quick. But but that's something like with, and I know me and you, Molly, disagree on Rob Zombie's Halloween, but at least he did something different. I mean, he did some things that were similar shot for shot, but then did some different storytelling with it, along with it. I would say the same thing with the Texas Chainsaw remake.
See, I love the Texas Chainsaw remake. But yeah,
I thought it was good too.
But
Halloweens, if they had been called something else, I would probably have enjoyed them. It's just a personal attachment to the original, Yeah, that's all that it is with me. I just can't separate the two. So yeah.
Oh, I get that. And but yeah, I mean, they've just gotten a little crazy, and it's okay if we go off point because I don't think any of us have any plans tonight anyway. So, but getting to my next film, and I was actually going to. All right, and I know I can say fuck on YouTube. So, and besides, we're not monetized anyway. So here, this is a movie called from 2016. Don't Fuck in the Woods. And I was just going to talk about this, but I actually want to talk about the sequel instead. Don't Fuck in the Woods Part 2, which came out.
I didn't see that.
I'm sorry, because I realized the second one is so much better than the first.
Oh, man.
But I'm going to go ahead, for those who haven't seen it, give a little bit of a story with the first one. I want to at least give some credit to the writer-director, whose name is, let me find him here. I can't read my own hand. Sean Burkett. Sean Burkett wrote it. I don't know what he made this movie for. You can find it on Tubi, but I can't imagine it was made for a whole lot of money because it kind of shows a little bit. The basic gist of the movie is you have a bunch of kids going to party in the woods, nothing new. Only, well, you have like this creature. We don't know what it is, what its name, where it came from. It's just there. It's almost like, kind of looks like a more grotesque version of Creature of the Black Lagoon. And essentially, it is attracted to sexual activity. Hence the word. Things going to come by and tear you apart. And really that simple, really, the story. The effects are really, the practical effects are really good, but a lot of the kill scenes, you don't see the actual kill. It's like they cut away real quick, and then you see the aftermath of it. And
but
once
they've done really well,
It's a short movie. It's only an hour and 15 minutes. You could tell they kind of rushed the ending. It needed that extra 10 minutes probably. You have a final girl that survives all of this. She ends up blowing up the creature with like a fiery bow and arrow. I can't even remember exactly how she came across that, but I think they had some bow and arrows. So they were going or whatever. I guess they were going to do some hunting. Is a little bit. There's a few good performances out of these characters, including the final girl. Then there are some that are just kind of bland. Your typical kind of like dull, stereotypical characters that you're like, okay, you guys are just here to get killed. So, but getting to the second one, which is way better, they obviously had more money for this one, and this one was released in 2022, so it's been 6 years in between the sequels. They do something different with this. They could have easily just kind of stayed to the same formula, but this time, instead of bringing the creature back to life, they basically wrote it into where when this creature got killed, a bunch of like released some leeches, I guess, or at least one, kind of like a very phallic looking leech, I'll say that. And what it does now, the whole story is these leeches will find a human host, enter into whatever crevice it wants to, and it infects the person and turns them not into full blown creature like it was, but it makes them basically wanting to rip other people apart. And then it spreads to other people. So you have almost like a zombie movie where one gets affected and then you have a whole group.
Or it's just sexually transmitted infection, basically.
Right, so they kind of changed it up a little bit. You have a new group of people that we're following because the final girl doesn't show up until about halfway through because it takes over right where the last one left off. You have a group of basically camp counselors. Basically, they're getting ready to set up a campground because they're turning it into a campground. You have some older characters now because you have your typical young, late teens, early 20s characters, but you have like the head nurse who's like in charge of everything. Usually a character that's probably in her 30s. You have like the handyman who's also an ex-con, probably about 40-ish or so. They're the two best characters in this. So speaking of being able to relate to characters, I think those are characters for especially people my age. And Molly, you're probably at least 10 years younger than me, but anyhow.
Yeah, I'm 42, so.
Okay, I'm 9
44.
years. I'm 9 years older than you. But the performances are a lot better for this type of movie. I liked how they kind of changed things up a little bit. Like I said, it'd been real easy for them just to bring back another monster. Instead, they kind of changed the formula a little bit. It's still basically the same thing. Your woods, kids having sex, getting drunk, and all that stuff. You have some of the stereotypical characters, the nerd, the jock, the little bit prissy bitch, and all that. But most of the characters you really do like, so you are kind of rooting for at least some of them, and the ending is done a lot better. So I would say watch the first one just so you have an idea. But the second one you'll definitely like better, and that's the one you'll probably find yourself, at least myself, I'll go back to a lot more than the first one.
And so what did you watch them on?
Tubi. They're both on Tubi.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. So you haven't seen them either, Tony?
No.
Okay. I know that I watched the first one time, but I think I watched it as a double feature with You Might Be the Killer. And I think You Might Be the Killer kind of stole the show for me that day. So I need to go back and rewatch Don't Fuck in the Woods again. And I had no idea about the sequel. That's awesome.
Yeah, the sequel is it definitely leaves it open for a third one. And this is one where if you're going to do it that way, where you're going to do something a little bit different, then, when we're talking about sequels, then I could see them doing it because maybe in the third one, maybe we can at least get a little bit of an origin about where this creature came back from in the first place. And you have at least two survivors from the first or from the second one. So I won't say who, but they definitely left it open. So who knows? That came out 2022. Granted, it was like 6 years in between, but hopefully you don't have, if they do a third one, maybe it'll be in a couple years or so. We'll see one. So it's got everything you would want. Like typical. First in 2016 and 2022, but it feels very much like a 80s movie for the most part, as far as the gratuitousness of it. Don't fornicate.
I love the title and the premise. Yeah, like you can't really beat a title like Don't Fuck in the Woods. I love that we live in a day and age where we can title our movies Don't Fuck in the Woods. I think that's really great. And it's really great. It sounds awesome. I'm excited to see the second one.
Yeah, if it was if it was made in the 70s and 80s, they would have said, "Well, don't make Whoopi in the woods" or something like that. Which is like, if you remember the show, what was it? Was it the Newlywed Game or something? They used to use that term instead of saying having sex.
We need to bring making Whoopi back. That is such a weird phrase. We need to bring it back. I think it deserves a renaissance.
Maybe I'll write a story called "Don't Make Whoopi in the Ocean" or something like that.
Cool. Oh, you're onto something there. Yeah, definitely.
The thing is, 90% of the audience won't even know what I'm talking about. Whoopi cushion.
Let's bring it back. The youngins though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Molly, your last one that you have on your list.
Okay, so the last movie that do you mind if I kind of do the thing that you did? Where like I plan to talk about one thing, but then I actually talk about a different thing. Is that okay?
Go for it.
I'm so sorry.
Because
throughout the course of the conversation, okay, awesome. I originally picked The Final Girls from 2015, which I love. I think it's amazing, but I also did a whole last deep dive of it on my podcast already. And like, we've been talking about a lot of campy, sort of fun, formulaic slashers. So I don't remember the year it came out off the top of my head. I didn't prepare to talk about it, but another one, my third choice would be, it's called Lumberjack Man. Have either of you seen Lumberjack Man? Okay,
No,
it's another 2010s horror movie. So I swear I don't just watch movies from the 80s. This is also from the 2010s, but it's an independent, low budget Bible camp slasher movie. So it's about a group of kids who go off to a Bible camp, and they're in this part of the woods where there's a sort of legendary kind of cryptid-like figure known as the Lumberjack Man. And there's literal pancakes and maple syrup are a part of his lore. And at the same time, there's a kind of sort of like a detective type, but he's kind of hunting the Lumberjack Man while these kids. When you were talking about Don't Fuck in the Woods, it reminded me of Lumberjack Man is a hypersexual movie. And although he's not specifically drawn to kids that are having sex, there's a lot of that in it, and it's fucking
it's Bible camp.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Bible camp. It's very raunchy. It's a raunchy movie, and it's goofy as hell, but it is also really good. And Lumberjack Man is such an iconically interesting killer. I really think that we need more attention on Lumberjack Man as a legend. So yeah, highly recommend it. Really funny. There at one point somebody gets cut in half and the top half of their body is just wandering around doing things. It's hilarious.
Is that on TV? Or where's that?
I don't know. We own it on physical media, so I don't know where it is on streaming. Like I said, I wasn't prepared to talk about it. I'm so sorry. But
I'm gonna
improvise. It was like
it's great though. I can't talk it up enough. It's one that I never hear anyone talk about. I feel like it just got completely forgotten as soon as it arrived, and I think it's hysterical and fun, and the kills are really good kills. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you sold me as soon as you said Bible camp, because I grew up in
Bible camp slasher movie. Yep. The best line in the movie is the detective type guy. He says it's riffing on Halloween because somebody says, something to him like, "Don't you want your pancakes?" And he turns around and he goes, "You don't know what pancakes is." It's fucking hysterical. It's so good. It's so good, you guys. Please watch Lumberjack Man.
I look this up on.
I know.
On my
out with everything else that I'm already supposed to remember.
Oh, wow. You don't know what.
It's my boyfriend and I quote that to each other all the time. You don't know what pancakes is. It's just ridiculous. It's so good.
I'm looking it up right now just to see where it's at. If it's
okay. Hopefully it's available somewhere. It's a famous guy too that plays the detective. Like I said, I wish that I had just boned up on the movie before we started talking, so I could tell you who he is. Huh?
Is Michael Madsen in that?
It's Michael Madsen, who just recently passed away. Yes, it's Michael Madsen. Thank you. Yes.
Another reason to watch it. Let me see where
yeah.
It's not, from what I can tell, it's not streaming anywhere. But if I can find it for rent, I'll find it one way or another. If Michael Madsen in it, then I'm watching it.
Yeah.
At the end.
If anyone in the chat or anyone who's watching later has seen Lumberjack Man, let us know. Let me know where you found it. If you have a physical copy, just put it in the comments somewhere. That's
well. Thanks for letting me derail a little bit. I really wanted to share that. So
that's fine, perfectly fine. I kind of derailed a little bit, but that's what we're like changing the derailed horror hangouts or whatever.
I do still highly recommend The Final Girls too. I just like I said, I talked about it so much in the past.
That one
was and I haven't seen it. And I was like, once again, it was one I couldn't find streaming anywhere. But that's like a PG-13 one, isn't it?
It is, and it is wonderful. Yeah, it's just
gateway horror for teenagers. Then
it's also another. It's not really for teenagers, though. I will say that it may be a PG-13 movie, but it was not made for today's audiences. It was made for longtime fans of 80s slashers. It's another meta type story, but it's very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, Lumberjack.
Well, Sammy, I think you have one more movie, and I think it also involves a cabin, if I'm not mistaken.
So when we were picking summer films, I was realizing that this one doesn't specify it's summer; it's a weekend getaway. So I'm like, man, does this technically still count? But I feel like it's also set more like towards summertime. They just don't mention it. Anyways, it's Cabin in the Woods, 2011. Josh Whedon from Buffy had helped wrote this. Who we co-wrote it with, they kind of were like tired of where like the horror genre kind of was going, and they wanted to write this story to show that you could still bring creativity and you can still have like 3 different acts in a movie that are completely different but still tying a story together very well. So I kind of like how this initially started out for a challenge for them, and then I feel like every horror fan that saw it when it came out was like, oh my fucking god, because it seriously hits on like every horror trope. And when you see like the underlaying of the whole facility that you get a peek at the beginning, which kind of throws you off, that it starts showing you like that part, because you're like, wait, I thought this was like them going to a cabin, but then it kicks into like, okay, maybe it is, So I like with that like flopping too, where you weren't sure where the movie was going, but it just, for any horror fan, it's just so many Easter eggs that it's just such a great like treat that I don't know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, such a weird thing. Is Josh Whedon, I think he must have made that right before he did the first Avengers movie, because he directed the first Avengers movie, which ironically also starred Chris Hemsworth, who is in Cabin in the Woods, and of course he at that point playing Thor as well. So they must have like made that a while ago, and it had just gotten released right before. I can't remember what year Avengers came out. I think it was right about that time. So. But yeah, Josh Whedon goes back to Buffy and the Vampire Slayer and all that too. So he's had a long career. I'd like to see him get back into horror, actually.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, it's tough because there's a lot of, unfortunately, he's gotten a lot of backlash. So it's really hard, I think, for him. His career's become really complicated. But I have followed every one of his TV series. I've watched every single one of them. And yeah, I absolutely love Cabin in the Woods. I have yet to meet a horror fan who doesn't. It's just it's the ultimate love letter, I think, to the genre, to the fans. And Yeah, I love everybody in it. I love the comedy is so on point. The kills are so on point. I just have no negative things to say about Cabin in the Woods. I think it's perfect.
I don't either. It's a movie that catches me by surprise. Like, whoa, what's going on here all of a sudden? Kind of like Barbarian did that to me halfway through. Wait a second, what's Justin Long doing here? I was just seeing this, what's going on? But yeah, I mean, I always like it when movies, even if it doesn't always work for me, I like it when movies at least take a chance to do something different. Molly, you had mentioned that with an earlier film we were talking about where I think it was part 3 of, or the third, I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. You admitted you didn't like it, but you at least respected they tried to do something different. And this is a movie they did something interesting, different with it, and it works.
Oh my god, the elevator scenes and you just seeing all these monsters like pouring into the facility, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Even though there was like the unicorn, I was like, oh, killer.
Yeah. And I love, too, that they chose to go with a nihilistic ending, because there were a lot of different ways they could have ended Cabin in the Woods. They could have tried to go for, like, a happy ending. They could have tried to wrap everything up in a bow. They could have done a final jump scare. Like, there were so many ways they could have gone with it. And I think that it made it, not to read too much into Cabin in the Woods, but I think it became so much more poignant when they chose to end it on that nihilistic note, which gives it an artistic flavor. So, like, it's hard. You can't just write it off as just another gory meta horror movie. It's like, no, there's some freaking art in here, and they did a good job with that, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the bit like when they got into the basement and you're seeing like all the artifacts that could be like different killers that they're gonna choose, and like they kind of have the choosing. It reminded me a lot of like that scene in Waxworks too, when they're in like his uncle's like attic, and the collection he has and everything, and kind of different things are for different things. And
yeah, I love that. And I love how it just ties literally everything together. If you wanted to try to explain the premise of any horror movie, you could literally point to Cabin in the Woods to explain it away. And I love that. That's so brilliant. It's just, man, it's great.
Yeah,
I can't think of any other movie like it.
I know.
And hopefully no one tries to make another movie like it. Just let it be its own thing, and don't try and remake it. Don't try and do anything else.
I mean, you could be like, no, but if the world's ending, you can't. Never mind.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say you could be like, oh, maybe they keep it, and then you could go off of some of the creatures escaping, and then like.
But it's that nihilistic ending. They made sure you can't tell any more stories with it. You know?
True. Which may have been their intention too. Why they chose to go with that ending, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Joss. I mean, you know, I think he's an exceptionally talented writer. I wouldn't put it past him for thinking, you know what? Let's make sure no one ever gets their hands on this again. Let's just end the fucking world.
Okay, and I was just thinking about. I had an earlier thought, and then I forgot about it. But it's going back real quick to I Know What You Did Last Summer. You know what they should have done with this requel? They should have changed the time of the year, and they should have done it like in the winter time, and then you could call it I Know What You Did Last Winter.
Ooh. That's an interesting thing.
I'm going to say, like, yeah, totally change the setting of it, and you've already done the summer thing, so then you could do, and then you could do like, I Know What You Did Last Spring, I Know What You Did Last Fall, and just continue off. It could almost be like a bunch of series of anthology movies that are.
Could get deeper, like I know you did last Halloween. I know you did last Christmas.
Dude, I would pay to see I Know What You Did Last Christmas. That just sounds amazing. Like I would absolutely go see that movie. Yeah, and I just think it's the legacy problem. I think because the temptation to see your favorite characters be brought back is so strong, and they know that, and they're capitalizing on that. You know, like I was really on board with I Know What You Did Last Summer, the requel, when I heard that Julie James and Ray would be returning. I heard that Sarah Michelle Gellar was back on board somehow. You know, I was like, okay, I'm listening, but then you realize that everything that we loved and learned in and about the previous movies gets undone because they're trying to be so much edgier with it. They're trying to do something so totally different with these original characters. That's what really bugs me. Is it's like you're losing the spirit of the original films by trying so hard to make it something else while at the same time clinging to those original films, if that makes any sense at all. But
yeah. But I had to throw that out there. I was thinking, well, that would have been something they could have went with. But we'll get to my last one. This also comes from 2022. Who knew me being mainly a 70s, 80s guy would pick two movies both from 2022? But this is one that I think most people know. It was the start of a trilogy, and that's X, written, directed by Ty West. Definitely a summer movie. I had to rewatch it again, even though I really didn't need to, but it's one of my favorites of this decade, so I kind of have to. I just love it because it's definitely a summer movie, because when you watch these characters, you can almost, watching the movie, feel the East Texas humidity just rubbing off this movie, because fortunately I live in West Texas where it's not as bad, but I know what that humidity's like down there, and you just see it off of them. It's a period piece made, it takes place in 1979. That's probably another reason why it works so well. The concept, of course, most people already know it. You have these group of people that are going to make their own adult film, and they're trying to hit the VHS market, because this is right when VCRs were coming out. The ringleader of this group, the guy's got the big ideas, like thinking, we're going to get ourselves into this market before anyone else does. So he's got a very entrepreneurial spirit about him.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, seriously.
People know, like his line was, people no longer have to watch this stuff in shame going to a theater. They can watch it now in the privacy of their own homes and all that. And who really watches all those movies all the way through anyway? But but the characters are all well written. They all have their different, I guess, motivations. Obviously, Mia Goth, she's wanting to go on and be famous, plays Maxine. You have Brittany Murphy's character, who's just happy doing it. She doesn't care. Of course, you have the character of Jackson, who's someone who has survived. I would like to have known more about his character, because he's like a survivor of Vietnam War, so he's just along for the ride. Anything is better than what he had gone through being in the military. Then you have this guy who's wanting to break in, be a big-time director, and make a worthwhile porno movie. And then you have Jenna Ortega's character, who they call Church Mouse, who's at first appalled by them, but now wants to be a part of the whole thing. And then you have the old couple whose farmland they are on making this movie. And as they find out, the old lady Pearl is a little bit unstable, and chaos ensues. And it's some really great kills. What I like about this movie, it's very well shot. Obviously, you have some good kills, good character development, I think, across the board by and large. And there really is some funny scenes in this. Sometimes A24 films have a tendency to take themselves too seriously, but they put in a little bit of humor. And I thought Jenna Ortega's death scene was the funniest. I actually laughed out loud because she's running out of the house, screaming, acting like, a spoiled brat. And right as she runs out of the house, old Howard's there with his shotgun and shoots her right in the face. And it was just right on cue. And I remember laughing at that film. But, and of course, it spawned Pearl, which is highly regarded. I'm in the minority in that I like X a little bit better than Pearl. And then there's Maxine, which was good, but I think a little bit of a step down from the first two movies. But it was, overall, I'd say it's really good. So if you haven't seen it, anyone out there, definitely check it out.
I think it was cool having like an old lady that's like, like a killer. like a killer and a sexual predator, an old lady that is,
Yeah, I know that was
kind of like both of those, and then you find out why, obviously when you see Pearl and
her husband's just pretty much an enabler at that point, and and God, her death scene was really graphic. Of course, Mia Goth is playing both these characters, Maxine and Pearl, but when she kills Pearl, basically runs over her head with the car and squashes it like a melon. So it's like, cool, you guys didn't hold back on that part of it. So yeah, I've liked Ty Weston's House of the Devil. Innkeeper's not so much. Haven't seen Sacrament yet. There's that Western he did directed with Ethan Hawke, and the title escapes me, but I want to say Valley of the Darkness, maybe. But
I can't remember what one is.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up sometime. But it's a Ty West movie, kind of a Western with I think it was Valley of the Darkness, but someone can correct me on that. But so what were your ladies' thoughts on X?
Sammy, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, like I said, it was cool, like, having Pearl like a older character that you find out that's pretty deranged and stuff, and I love how it started off this cool trilogy that like came together and stuff. I've seen all three of them, and I did really enjoy Maxine. Like, I thought that was a really cool character, but I kind of feel like it's a story that's been told a lot. The whole like I'll do anything to accomplish what I need to accomplish, even if it includes murder. But yeah, X was definitely like interestingly done, but I definitely liked Pearl and Maxine, I think, a little bit more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, I also have seen all three of them. And I really, really enjoy X. I love Ty West as well. House of the Devil is easily one of my favorite contemporary horror films. I trust Ty West, the majority of anything I've seen from him, I think is really solid. And I also appreciate the work that A24 is doing. I might not always love everything that comes out of A24, but they're working their asses off to legitimize the horror genre, in a way that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. So I feel indebted to A24, but, and it's funny because I have one complaint about X, and it was one of those things where, because I really enjoyed the film, I thought it was solid, and like you said, you can feel the sweat coming off of those characters. It is the perfect summer movie, and I think that it's wonderful, and everybody did a great job. I'm also super happy for Mia Goth and everything that has come out of that for her, and I know that the roles of Pearl and her younger character, whose name escapes me for some reason right now. Maxine. Jesus. Oh my God. Sorry. I'm like hyper focused. Pearl and Maxine. I know that getting to play both of those roles was probably a dream come true for her. My only issue with X, and again, when you look at the larger picture of the trilogy, it kind of makes sense. But I wish that they had actually cast an older actress in the role of Pearl instead of putting a young actress in the makeup, for a couple reasons. One, because I really want older women to get more work, but then also because I was distracted by the makeup the whole time I was watching the movie. It's not bad makeup, but it's very obvious to me that it's makeup.
Right.
So the whole time I was watching it the first time, I'm just like, why did they not just cast an old woman? Like, why give this part to a young woman? And you watch the trilogy and you understand why they did it that way. And I think Ty always knew he was going to do it that way. So it makes sense. But I had to watch it a few times before I could get past the fact that Mia Goth was playing Pearl. Other than that, though, I do really love it, and I think it's a really great film.
I think it had just been a standalone movie, just by itself, then I would definitely agree with you. Yeah, you could have went and got name your actress or any older horror actress that could have played it, even if they had to still use some makeup or whatever, because they're supposed to be in their 80s at this point, so I don't know who's still in their 80s that's still doing movies, but maybe someone like
Lynn Shay would have been great. Like I think she would have been an amazing Pearl, just as an example. Yeah. But I get it. I get why they did it that way.
Right.
And when you watch Pearl and Maxine, it really does all come together. And I think it makes Mia Goth playing Pearl in X make a lot more sense, and it ties it together visually in a way and viscerally that I think works really well. It was just that was my first impression of it. And so it took me a while to warm up to the film, but I do really like it. Yeah.
Which unfortunately that happens sometimes, you get a little bad taste in your mouth about something, or you might, notice something, and then it's like, I kind of, might have enjoyed a little bit more if I hadn't, but
Right. Well, I'm obnoxious about the age thing. I would have. It was guaranteed I was going to have a problem with it at first.
No, but you're totally right. There are like
Yeah, I
older
agree,
female characters that would have been perfect to play that part and stuff. And you could have even gave like consideration to like some of the old actresses in Hammer films that may still be alive.
Yeah.
Like, would have been a beautiful
still
thing.
alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that would have been a beautiful thing to do, to kind of give in a way like an homage to like some of those other actresses.
But I'm sure, because I think Mia did an amazing. Her performance was unbelievable, and so and I'm glad, like I said, for what it's done for her career, and I'm sure it was a dream role for her. So I wouldn't want to take that away from her now in retrospect. Yeah, it's a great trilogy. I think it's a solid trilogy. Like you, although I could not remember Maxine's name, I did also enjoy Maxine. But X is the one that I've seen multiple times. I've only seen Pearl and Maxine once, and yeah, I like them though a lot.
And I'll say that too about A24. What some of the movies they do don't always work for me, but I do like the fact that they're not doing cash grabs. That's what Blumhouse is doing now. Oh, we're going to buy this series, we're going to buy this series, we're going to buy this series. Whatever happened to making Sinister or making when you first did Insidious and all these separate movies, and now you just want to make whatever. I think they just got the rights on Saw movies now.
They're in the process. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Like if you'd heard that they're about to acquire, at least partial rights to the Saw franchise, and it's like, man, why? Why are you doing this? I have questions.
Well, it's like I think Saw X ended at such a great note. It's almost like granted, it's kind of like a prequel too, because it takes place in between the first two movies, I think. But it's a great way to just wrap that whole series up a little bit. And Belle's not getting any younger, so it's like
and that's the thing is they're going to have two options. They're either going to bring Tobin back, which is going to kind of undo that beautiful note we ended on with 10. Or they're going to recast Jigsaw, which I can't. I'm just. It's like I can feel it pissing me off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or recast on Trainer, I should say, not necessarily Jigsaw, but recast on Trainer, or just kick him out of the franchise completely or something. I don't know. None of it's good.
Exactly. Well, I think that's all for the movie tonight. And it looks like we'll get some reverb problems again. But right in the nick of time. But everyone check out the Final Girl Friday YouTube channel, and also has the older episodes on Spotify. Check out WNY Tour Crew YouTube channel. And we will see you guys next month. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everyone.